Okay, so today I brought my puppet in. His name's Chris. So he's in the army. Yeah. It's really
Chris,
awesome.
and how about, is it Shalou?
Moss.
Chris Moss. All right. Very good. Welcome.
I think asked me to come in and talk about my experiences in the military. I was in Iraq for 2004 to 2006, the end of 2006. We went to the Mexican border, worked on the Mexican border, and we also, in my time, went to Afghanistan for a year. Iraq was a beautiful place. I know you probably see on TV is not what you're actually seeing if you're there. The people are very, very nice. Everybody wants to talk to you. Children want to talk to you. In our time over there, we helped build schools. We helped build grocery stores for them because they got quite heavily damaged during the war. So to show that we want to help them, you have to get out in the community and work with the community and help them. So that's what we did. We had other missions too, but it was mainly to help these people try to get over and show that the United States wasn't there just for their oil like people want to say. You know, we were over there to help them, and they were very respectful. I was over there during the time where they had their first election. And we went out, we had to patrol the village we were in called Najaf. And everybody was coming out of their houses, stopping us. And you never see that. They were coming out of their houses and showing their finger, because when they vote, they put their finger in an ink, and then they come out, and that means they can't go back and vote again because you can't get the ink off. So they were so proud, because women over there were never allowed to vote. They were so proud to go out and vote. You know, as Americans, we take that for granted, I think. You know, you turn 18, you're probably excited to vote, and then it just fades off. You forget about the elections. These people were so excited. I'd never seen that before, where people were so proud that they could go out and vote for a president or people in their towns. It's nothing like you'd ever see in America. The towns are nothing like that. Everything's built out of hard rock, sand. Their stoves. They have modern stoves inside, but you get out in the other villages that are real small, and they make these look like pizza stoves. They make them out of cow manure and sand. They just put the heat in there, and it makes the best bread you'll ever eat. You know, I was amazed. I never really wanted to try anything because I was always skeptical with what they were doing. But one day we had met this woman for 6 months. She came over to me, and I had the interpreter with me, and she said, "Here, try this. You're the only one that has it." I kept saying no, and it's very, very rude to turn down any food that they want to give you. It's a sign of disrespect. So I said, "All right," and I tasted it. I said, "Oh, wow, I can't believe this. This is so good." I've had homemade bread here, but it was just amazing the way that bread tasted. So the kids younger than you, or even your age, we would give them $1 here and there just to help them out. Well, that dollar, the father told us he had diabetes. He said, "I can go to the hospital for 1 month on that American dollar." He said, it takes care of all my health for 1 month. I was amazed at $1 American dollar. You know, these kids were excited to get $1. I give my grandson $10, and it's nothing. But you give a child over there that has nothing $1, and it's the world to them. They had for food, they mainly ate goat and their bread. That's why I think diabetes is real high over there, because they eat a lot of carbohydrates all day long. But I brought This is one of my soda, it's a Sprite, but as you can see, I'll pass it around. Just don't drop it, all right? But it's got the Iraqi writing on it, as you can see on it. So they have the same things we have. Chocolate, the same, just has the Iraqi writing on it, which says Sprite. A lot of things over there were the same, except it's a third world country that doesn't have what we have in America, manufacturing and stuff. But it's a beautiful place. Afghanistan, if they ever get that straightened out, that would be one of the top 10 tour places in the world, I think, because it was nothing but mountains. Some of the times the mountains had snow on them. We were there in July, and they still had snow. So it was just amazing how, if you were a climber, an adventure guy person, you'd probably love it over there. They were a little bit more, not so friendly to us, because we were the third or fourth country that's gone in there to try to help them, and everybody else wants to take, they're really big on spices in Afghanistan, things like that. So they think you're there to take their country, and we were trying to tell them, we're not here to do that, all we're here is to help you. So we did more humanitarian things in Afghanistan than anything, just there to help them out. But like I said, so many other places, so many other countries have gone in there and fought them that they don't really, they won't accept you. Like Iraq really accepted us. Some of the areas. Now you have some areas where how we would know it is if you drove into the town and the kids ran away from you. Then you better watch out, because something's wrong. Because children are they're the first ones to come to you. They're the ones that are going to come up to you, and you know if those children are coming up to you, the parents have talked to them and told them that, you know, America is not as bad as you may hear, that they are here to help us. If you go into some towns where there's no children coming out to greet you, then you knew something was up, because they didn't like us in that area. So we had to try to break that barrier and go what they call their elders. The elders over there which are your senior citizens here, are so respected. What they say goes. If they say you don't leave the house, you don't leave the house. You don't talk back to them, you don't do anything. You're there to listen to the elders, and you need to respect your elders. It's very interesting that I thought, because I was one of the older guys in our unit, and they would always come to me and talk to me instead of talking to maybe our guy that's in charge, who's a little bit younger than me, because they saw me as an elder. But in Iraq and Afghanistan, they're both two great countries. Hopefully one day they'll be able to straighten themselves out, where there's not so much fighting over there. They get their government together. The problem we saw was we worked with a lot of upper end officials. So they would get, say, $100. And that $100 was to pay your town. That's to pay your police. You know, they had fire departments, workers in the villages. Well, what would happen is that man, who was the head man, he'd take $80. Now his family's rich, because you can see his house, because it's over there and it's sitting on top of everything, and it's the most beautiful house there is. But he just took $80 of that $100 for himself. Now he needs to spread that $20 out to his, say, lieutenant, who's got to distribute that $20 out to his workers. He may have 10 police officers. So he takes 15 and says, give the rest to the workers. And now the workers are upset, because why am I working, you know, getting shot at and risking my life for $1 a month? That's not, you know, that's not a week pay, that's a month's pay. So it was, if they get that straightened out, it was the same thing in Afghanistan, both ways. It was like a very corrupt government. But if they get that straightened out, it would be, I would love to go back to both places and visit them areas, because it's just amazing to see how people can get by with little things they have. In America, we can't do it. They have no directional lights, no traffic lights, no nothing. And you come to a roundabout and cars are just going in and out and every other way, and there's never an accident. You know, right here in Vermont, you get up to the traffic light, you got people stopped and they can't figure out what way to go, and but down there, they just cruise right through. If anyone's got a question, it was beautiful over there. It's a lot different than what you see on the TV.
So Mr. Moss, first, thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank
really
you.
Appreciate you coming. The 8th graders on our team actually just read a story about these kids who had everything, really, had all the latest technology and how they essentially developed a lack of appreciation for all that they have. So you grew up here in America, and you got to experience whatever America had to offer you, and then you went somewhere else where things were very different. And what I'm hearing you saying is that the culture is different in both places, obviously. But I'm actually hearing that there's quite a bit that you appreciated about the way things were over there. And I'm wondering if, in your opinion, it is because they haven't had a lot, and so as a result, they've grown up in very different circumstances. And then, yet here we are in America, where a lot of us have a lot of stuff, and for I don't know, I know that part of the war was fighting for sort of the American way and democracy, but what I'm hearing you saying is that maybe there's some of democracy that isn't so good and doesn't teach us maybe the right way to be. And I'm not saying I'm against democracy, but I'm just wondering your take on that based on your experience.
We got over there, and it was early in the war, and we wanted to show them our way. Our way was better than your way. But you can't do that. We learned really quick between the National Guard, which I was in, and the regular Army. The regular Army goes in, and they're not a close-knit outfit because you're always changing bases. Every 2 years, you're going to another base, you're losing buddies. You'll stick with your buddies, but with the National Guard, we learned that if we went into the villages, put our Humvees outside of the villages, and walked into those villages with our interpreters, that they would listen to us, you know, and we didn't want to change their ways. Their ways are their ways. You can't go into another country and say, now you're going to be like us in America. Their ways are so... Women had to wear even little children, you know, they get to a certain age, I think it was 10 years old, they had to wear the veil over their face so you couldn't see their face. We were never allowed to talk to a young woman. They kept the young women out of anywhere, so you would never see them. You could talk to the elder women, but you could never talk to the young girls. And that's not just us, that's the Iraqis or Afghanistan culture. We were there, and there was a wedding, and they invited us in, and the family actually traded 3 goats for that daughter. They had known each other for years. The families had known each other, but they had traded 3 goats for the daughter to get married. She had no choice. That was who she was picked to be with. And you think in America, well, that would never work. You could never do that. You got laws, but over there, they're a country that's working. It's not working well because their government isn't in sync with each other. If the government would get together, and I think it's better now than it ever has been, because they have, in Afghanistan, they have a guy that wants to change things for the better of the country, because they have a beautiful country. You know, there could be so much money just in tourism for both. I mean, your religion alone in Iraq it's where Jesus went. I don't know if you believe in him or not, but there's a lot of religious artifacts that were there that were getting smashed because the Taliban, is that they call them when I was there, just was in there to destroy anything, just to get back at people, to hurt people.
So would you view their culture as good, bad, or just different?
I think it's just different. It works for them. You know, we always, if they would just get their government, you know, if they could get the government working for the people. That's all they did. The government didn't work for the people, they worked for themselves. To have the big home on the outskirts of town. They had the security guards and all that. But if you just work for the people, I think it would be beautiful. I know it would be beautiful. They have blacktop roads over there. It's just very different. You don't go into a grocery store like Hannaford's or Price Chopper up there. You're going into a store that's probably the size of that corner right there. That's what their store is. They still have big chunks of ice that they put in their freezers to keep their refrigerators cold. That's how far behind they are. Yeah, it's a third world country, but it's hard to believe that when you go to a country like that and you see this, I don't think anybody here could picture what that's really like. You have children that I gave them a pencil, or we would give them a piece of paper, and they would thank you so much, because they don't have that. Vermont was great when I was over there, because a lot of stuff got shipped over to us. The wives got together and we said we need school supplies, we need kids' clothing, and a lot of the companies in Vermont and the areas sent us stuff. And we distributed it out to them. And the government and the Army also has pretty big connexes full of stuff, blankets, and a lot of times they wouldn't take our blankets because they weren't the right blanket. They thank you, but no, we don't want it. It's just out of respect for you or religion, but it's a beautiful place. I mean, I can't imagine giving anybody in here a pencil and hearing the appreciation out of them to give them a pencil. To me, that's nothing. You give a child $1 and they're so excited about that. I mean, I dropped in so you can see it. Here's some Afghanistan money. You take this, I gave him, I think it was $41. And I got back all this. It was almost $200. Well, if you would count it out, it's like $200 in American money. But that's Afghanistan. So I gave him 40. They gave me 200. That's quite an exchange to give. And this is some of the real, a lot of counterfeit Iraqi money was going around, but this is some Iraqi money. You can see the difference. The way you knew a lot of Iraq money had Saddam's face on it still when we were in there, because they were trying to get a new currency going and they couldn't figure out how they were going to do it. So it's, as you can see, it's different types of different things, different kinds of money, different attitudes. It's just it's remarkable. I guess I had the time of my life being there. I mean, there was a lot of bad things that happened, yes, but for the most part, it was a beautiful place to be in. If anybody's got a question? Yeah.
What inspired you to join the military?
When I was in high school, I could have gone to college. I had a scholarship to Johnson back then for running. And I said, my dad was in the Air Force, and I said, that's what I want to do. And I went in the Army. He was a little upset because I didn't go in the Air Force, but I went in the Army instead and had the time of my life. I was in the regular Army from 80 '81 to '84. And I went to Alaska, I went to Panama, I went to Germany, I went to Korea, all over the United States. So you just travel. You know, it's amazing. You work harder than probably in a normal job, depending on what job you pick in the military. But to me, it was just the right thing to do. And it's not for everybody. Some jobs aren't for everybody. The military was amazing for me. It changed my life. Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, I'd still be in today, but I got hurt in Afghanistan. So they decided I'm just no more useful to them in the military. So politics. So, but it's a great job.
After you were in the Army, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
so you were full-time Army
Yep.
for a period of time. And before you went to Iraq and Afghanistan, did you do some other work in between?
Yes, I worked down at Paragon Nutritionals in Georgia. It used to be the old Wyeth plant with the infant formula.
Yep.
I got out of the Army and I was engaged, and we were supposed to, because she had been in an Army family. And it's hard at an Army family because you're traveling every 2 to 3 years to another base. So I decided to get out. That didn't work out. And then right after 9/11, my brother passed away from brain cancer. And me and my wife sat down and said, you know, if you're going to do it, now's the time you have to do it. Because I always wanted to go back. And 9/11 came around and I said, you know, it's time for me to go back. I've been out here long enough. I was starting to lose that respect that I was taught. I went back in and loved every minute of it. I was in for 2 years and then I got called up to go to Iraq. I didn't go with St. Albans, I went with Enosburg, those guys up there. Like I said, there was a lot of scary days, but there was also a lot of great days there. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think the hardest thing was my family. They have the hardest time because I'm over there and I've got a schedule. And your family back home, your father's not there anymore or your mother's not there anymore, so things change. You're not. My daughter was always, we were real close, still are, but when I left, it was tough on her, but she did a great job. They had a youth thing over here for kids at that time, and she helped out with that, so I enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
You said earlier that you had an injury, so you weren't able to go into the Army near the end when you were in Iraq. I was just thinking, what was that injury?
I was in Afghanistan, and we were running to a helicopter. We had just done a mission, a job. We were out looking for somebody. And I ran back and I twisted my leg in a hole. And I tore up my knee. All the muscles in my knee were torn. So I ended up with a thing they call complex regional pain syndrome, where the outside of your leg, your nerves, anything that touches it, if you cut yourself, those nerves work to stop the clotting, stop the pain. Well, my nerves, they never turn back down. Like the nerves are always up, trying to react to anything that touches that leg. So even in the summertime or wintertime, I wear shorts because it's right here and it just really hurts. So the Army at the time decided that, well, we can no longer use you because, you know, I couldn't wear a uniform anymore. I wouldn't have been able to do the job that I was in. It was the right thing. It was just hard for me because I really appreciated the military. And when they said, we don't need you anymore, it was like a shot in the head. It's like, how can this be? But it was the right thing. If you're, it's just like any job. If you can't do the job, you're not going to be needed. You find something else to do, move on with life, and figure what else what's the next step for you. That's what I did, and everything's worked out. I would have loved to retire, but I had 5 years, but it didn't work out for me.
So Mr. Moss, you seem pretty like level-headed about it right now. But one of the other things we're working on with these guys is that we're all going to face adversity in life. Like things aren't always going to go smooth.
Yep.
It may look like us adults have it all together all the time, but the truth is we don't. Like in public, we're going to put on a face and a show, or you know, for these guys when things aren't going well, it's hard for them to fake it. Like we know things are not going well for them, but when you become an adult, you learn to sort of, you know, hold on to those things a little bit better and still, you know, behave appropriately in public. But I'm just curious. It sounded like, yeah, you know, it went okay, but I'm guessing like you had some days where you didn't feel too good.
It was tough. It was tough for probably 3 to 4 years.
No, not 3 to 4 days. You just said 3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years, I struggled with the fact that the military didn't need me anymore. You know, I went into the military on my terms. You know, I went in and loved what I was doing, and then it came down to it that they no longer needed me. I was no longer useful to the military. So it was tough for me to get that, because when I went back in, I moved up fast. Everybody was saying, what's going on? Why? I've been here 18 years and I haven't made the rank that he's made. But I worked really hard. And just like my civilian job, I mean, the harder you work, the better it is. The more things you're going to get out of life. There's days still today that, because of my injury, that I struggle. But you just gotta, you're here. You're living, you're breathing, you're part of society. And just to be here, for what I saw in Iraq and Afghanistan, the way those people live, and to be as happy as they are, you know, they don't know any different. You know, we may get upset because Mom and Dad didn't buy us this toy or this game that we wanted. Over there, they don't have that. They don't have Xbox, they don't have PlayStation. They go outside and play. And they're in the streets, but they have respect for adults. It's not this, it's different, you know? I mean, we try to teach our children respect for adults. We try to teach them respect for elders. But in America, it's lost somewhere. Over there, it didn't get lost. They're taught from a very young age, and it's pushed into their brains that they're the wise ones. You listen to your elders, you respect your elders, because your elders know what they're talking about. I mean, it's the same thing here. Some days your kids might not want to be here or not want to learn today. They're having a bad day, and everybody has bad days. But you've got to appreciate what you have, because America's the greatest place there is. It really is. You know, and like I said, I've been to many countries, seen many things, and I've never seen anything that's so special as America. And as beautiful as America is, I think we take for granted too much in America. Way too much. I wouldn't want any of you guys to have to go over and see how they live, because it's so hard. But they do it. That's what's amazing to me. They don't get government assistance. They don't get food stamps. What Dad makes by selling this or selling that, that's what they have. Their butcher shops was amazing to me, because in America, everything's got to be a certain temperature, and everything's got to be checked by USDA certified. Like where I am, USDA is United States Dairy Association. And they come into our plant all the time to make sure that that infant formula is dried at the right temperature and canned it the right way. And over there was goats that they were butchering right on the sidewalk. And then they would hang them right up in the stores so you could see it. In America, you would never see that. But over there, to them, it was nothing. It was...
In a refrigerated room, right?
No. There was flies all over everything. I was like, I said, that's why I'm not eating their food. But they can do it. They can adapt to that. In America, you would never see that. We'd be so grossed out, God, I can't do that. But they adapt. It's like I said, they're driving. It's just amazing to me. You may have one police officer standing in the middle, and there's traffic coming from 8 different directions. This guy wants to go all the way across. They don't stop, they don't slow down, everybody adapts, it's just amazing to me that the way they live and how they live, that it can be adaptable like that. In America, you'd have people getting out of the car screaming and yelling, but over there, you don't have that. Afghanistan or Iraq. Afghanistan was a little bit more primitive. They didn't have the blacktop roads like Iraq had, but it was interesting. I wouldn't pass it up for nothing. I'm glad I went. I was able to do my time and serve my country, and I don't think there's any other, to me, any other higher thing to do is to serve your country some way. So I enjoyed it.
Mr. Moss, it's kind of nice that you came in this afternoon because this morning in 7th grade, Mr. Cattell and myself actually made some of the same comments you spoke about, what we kind of take for granted. And I'm wondering, as you're very proud and you've served our country, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
These guys really, they hear us speak and they hear you speak, and we're hoping something sets in. What kind of advice would you give them right now as to, what they have in front of you is they're very lucky, and all our adults. What kind of other advice could you give these guys as they move forward? As they're looking into high school, some of these kids are less than a year from high school, and they're going to have some decisions to make within the next few years. What kind of advice would you give them?
Appreciate what you have. Appreciate every day you have. Work hard. You're not going to get anything in this world without working hard. It may seem that things aren't going right for you and you have a bad day. As adults, we have bad days. But just to sit down and just think for a second, it's going to be better tomorrow. It's going to be better in a week. It will get better. But it's all dependent on you. It's all dependent on what you want. If you want to be better, and you want to have a great job or military career, college, my daughter, she was at city school and she went to BFA. She would always tell me, Dad, I can't do it. And I'd say, Brittany, just buckle down, take a breather, and just work hard. Well, she ended up at Endicott College in Massachusetts. It was a private college. And they only took 450 kids the year my daughter went in. And they had over 8,000 applicants. And my daughter from this small town of St. Albans ended up in just outside of Boston, Beverly, Mass, at Endicott College. And it's a beautiful college. That's because, and after she got there, she said, Dad, thank you. You always pushed me. You always told me I could do better. She said, I never believed I could do better, but you told me I could, and I worked hard, and this is my payoff now. And she, appreciated it. But just things may look bad today, may look bad right now, but they're going to get better. Life is so precious. If you have problems, there's so many adults that you can go to talk to, and talk to people. Don't let it build up inside you. That's the worst thing. Just talk to somebody. There's always somebody that will listen, I hope. But just appreciate what you have and just work hard. You know, it's not always, I guess, I always tell my daughter, it wasn't always about getting the A, but the best that you could do. As long as you are doing the best that you can do, people will see that. People will recognize that and appreciate that. Just work hard. That's all it is, you know, and just appreciate what you have, because it's amazing. I wish I had pictures, but I didn't have the time to take pictures. But to see what they have and what we have here, it's amazing. Some of those people don't even have toilets, you know? They don't have refrigerators and stuff like that. So just appreciate what you have. Maybe you don't have a lot, but you have something. You have this. It's a great school. You're going to go back to it. When you get out of here, you're going to go to another great school. But it's all on you. You're the ones that make your life. Depends on how hard you want to work, I think. That's the way I was taught with my family, and I think that's a big thing. I think working hard, that's my thought. It's always worked well for me. 56 years old, and I've got a pretty good career where I am, and I got a great family, great grandchildren. I couldn't ask for anything better. Maybe to stay in the Army a little longer, but that didn't work out.
Anybody have any other questions for Mr. Moss? And actually, what would your rank be?
I was a staff E6.
So you would be Sergeant?
Yes.
They call you Sergeant Moss?
Yes.
All right.
I was on the list when I got hurt to be the E7, which would have been your platoon sergeants and stuff like that, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
So we move on.
You still have made a significant contribution to your country and to your community, and we
I appreciate
certainly really do appreciate you taking time out of your day today to come and talk with these guys,
I
share your
appreciate it.
story.